Yes, guys, make sure you're following us on Apple Podcast and Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It massively helps us out. Enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Ball Talk with me, Lewis Bryant. Today, I'm joined by professional footballer for Harrogate Town FC, James Daly.
First of all, thanks for coming on, James.
That's right, mate. Nice
we'll start with how you actually got into football.
I think I started later than most people. I'd say around 7-8 years old. Went to a local team called Patcham United, and before then, I think they started under fives, under sixes, but I don't think my dad took me till like under sevens, under eights. So yeah, I kind of remember the first game I ever played was just on this field called Hawes Dean, and I took a corner, scored a corner, and then I think I must have scored another 2 or 3, and then after that I was buzzing off it, and ever since then that's how I sort of got into it really. But yeah, pretty late compared to most people. I was just playing with my twin brother Joel for well. So I think that's how we got into it, and from then it's been ever non-stop ever since really.
Yeah, so that is quite late actually, 7-8. I thought you were a bit earlier than that.
No, I know there was a team. So the team set up at sort of, like I said, under 4, maybe not under 4, under 5s, maybe 5 and 6. But I don't know why it was, but we never joined initially at that phase. But 7 and 8, then joined a team, and I think as well playing with my older brother. So I played with my older brother Henry in his teams as well. I think that was the first transition into it, was going along to his training, because my dad would take his football team, so he would have been under 10s by then. He's 3 years older, so I think that's the first initial step, was going to his training with my dad, just because we were all going, and then slowly getting into it from there.
Yeah, that seems the same, doesn't it? Like it's always the dads that push you into it, but if they never do that, I suppose you're not going to do it at 6 or 7, are you? Do it yourself.
No, exactly. And it was always, he never forced me into football at all. I don't think it was ever that case. It's just he was football mad, and probably like you, Dad just took the teams as well. So when you're there, sometimes other players get the opportunity and the luxury to go, I don't fancy training today. But when your dad's the manager and he's got to sit up early, you've got to go like an hour earlier. Like you can't get out of training. Then like you have to go. So it's obviously helped massively. But I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was pretty late. Yeah. A late start, but
nice. That's in Brighton, yeah. That was
local. Yeah, so I went to a team called Patcham United. That was under 7s to about under 9s, under 10s. I went to Patcham Junior School, and that was the local club that everyone played for. So what age were you when you started?
I was football. I was probably young. I was like 6, I reckon. Yeah. Again, just probably playing with my old man. Got me in playing with my brother as well. But 6, and then obviously got into the academy at 8. So I was in it from young. How did you get into? What was your first academy? It wasn't Palace, was it? Or was it?
So I went on trial. I think it must have been about, say 10, maybe 9 or 10. Went to Brighton trial, me and my brother. We were just playing for a local team, enjoying it. And then I don't know how the opportunity arose to go in really, but I think there was scouts watching us, and we got told to come in and train. I just remember just not enjoying it when I was like 9 and 10. Like we had to go
the academy.
Yeah, like the academy system at that age. I just remember thinking, this is a bit too much, too serious for me. I didn't really enjoy that side of it because I wasn't massively enjoying the football. It's not like at that age there's a lot of like pressure for you to do well. You're not. It's still, you're developing. You're a young player.
Yeah.
Even then, I was like, nah, I'm not really feeling this. It was almost too prepared, and
it's a bit intense sometimes for a young age, isn't it? Not with your mates.
And I remember the manager. He spoke to us after a session once. We were at Shoreham, so it took us like quite a way to get there, probably like half an hour in the evenings. And he used to rank the players after every training session and every match day.
Used to.
It's out of 10. So if you were in the bottom sort of group over a long period of time, that was how he would use his system to either get rid of you or keep you there.
Oh, if you've had a certain amount of times like below in the bottom half, then you're done.
Then I remember when he said that, I was like, not that I didn't. I was like, yeah, that's not what football's about for me. So yeah, I've done well there. I enjoyed it. Me and my brother both done well, and I got offered something, but I just remember my dad was always like, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. So
no point, is there?
Never forced me. So I was like, look, I'd rather go and play. I'd rather go and play with my mates again. So that's what happened, and didn't think another opportunity would come up. To be fair, I think that's a massive part of doing well in football. You've got to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, a lot of it falls away. So
yeah, 100%. And if you did get pushed into that early, you like 3-4 years down the line, you might have just called it quits with football.
Exactly.
If you got pushed in too hard too early, but
it's all about similar timing, but it obviously worked for you as well. I also look at the other way and think, right, what if I was at academy at that age and stayed in academy? How much better technically and all these things you could be? Because I think the boys who start in the academy usually get drilled from a young age, but I think you can definitely tell the boys who've been in the academy, like yourself, growing up, doing all the technical stuff. Because when your dad's putting on sessions, it's still football based, but you're not worried about how your technique looks, how you and all that. It's just go and play proper, just score goals and enjoy it. So
it's more enjoyment in it, just with your mates instead of the development side, I suppose.
Yeah, and you get a bit of both, and that's what I liked as well. Is when so from when you're playing Sunday League, you're still competing for leagues, you're still playing for league titles, and you get sorted out in divisions from division. I think it's Division 10 you had up to Division 1. So there's always competition, and that's what I loved about it. Is you're playing cup finals in the seasons. You know as well because you play in cup finals, you play for leagues, and you have I remember there's a website called the Full Time FA, and it uploads teams results on. I think it's like the evening after, so I'd always be on there checking who was winning, if we were still top of the league, and where I was in the top goal scorer. So that part of it was valuable.
You just don't get that with academy, do you? Especially young age.
No, I think it's the transition's happening now. I think they understand that you need to be playing for something. But even when we were sort of under 16s, under 15s, even similar under 18s, you can't get relegated or promoted. It just seems like the competition isn't quite there, and there's no real this is what it means to play football when you have to win, because winning it does come first. And then you step out into football, and it's if you don't win, manager gets sacked. If you don't win, you could lose a contract, and you might not have a job. So, I think the transition's happening slowly, which is good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they do the academy now. They have games programs where it's it's sort of basically friendlies, and then they'll chuck in 3 or 4 cup competitions for every age group now over the season. So that's all they really get up until under 16s.
It's what's it called? The Floodlit Cup, is it? Is that it?
Floodlit Cup for 15s. Yeah, they've got a few for different age groups, but that's the most that's the only really competition they're getting, which sounds crazy, doesn't it? If you're trying to develop players to play in competitions.
That's what I was going to say, because you're coaching. Are you still coaching the under 15s?
Yeah, the under 15s. Yeah.
Do you see a shift in mentality when they play these games? Because I remember when we were under 18s and you play in the Youth Cup, it's this is the Youth Cup, this is a game, you have to win, because that's what you need. I think sometimes.
Yeah. It's because the games programs, the boys, they have to all get equal minutes really. So they can't be properly invested in it. They get taken off at half time, play half a game. Whereas the cup games, the manager picks the best 11.
Yeah.
And then they know I'm starting it because I'm the best. We need to win this game. Subs don't have to happen.
Yeah.
So definitely a shift, more focus. But I think they need that. I need that.
Yeah, that's if you're not competing for places as well, it's going to get to a point where you're going to have to do that in football. You're going to have to compete for places and stay in the team and win games. So I feel the earlier you can do it without pushing it the other way is better, because there's no point I feel like when we were in the academy as well, don't get me wrong, the ecosystem is unbelievable. You almost got too much at your disposal when you're at academy. You can become way too comfortable because you've got the network of people around you who support you is invaluable. And that's the one thing I noticed when I left Palace is you don't get those people. You don't get the amount of staff members invested in you at all times to make sure you're all right. So that's why it's so hard to get out of, I think, sometimes. And sometimes it's
hard. You're too comfortable.
Yeah, you're too comfortable and you think this is nice, but I think deep down in your head, right, if you're not seeing a pathway to the first team, then you have to go and try and craft your own way. And
you've got to make that big decision and to step away from it.
Yeah, and that's what I take from Palace is what it made me into, not just as a footballer, as a person, was unbelievable because the amount of staff we had to look after us, cook our food, clean our kit, like everything.
Yeah, you almost get lost in it when you're there. You don't think, do you?
Yeah, and even now, like I was there when it didn't have the training ground or the Category 1, but even now it's probably to a heightened level. So any player is going to go and do well, which they know, most of them, they're not going to have the facilities or the people around you. It's almost like, right, half have to fend for yourself and grow up a little bit. But
yeah,
no, it was great. I loved it there. It was really good.
So what age did you join? What age did you join Palace then?
It was. So I was under 14s. I think
under 14s you joined though, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about halfway through the season. I was playing. Where was I? I think I was just playing for my county and done well, and I think I scored a hat trick that day, playing up front. I think it was a good game actually. I remember the goal pretty clearly. I think I must have lobbed the keeper from about 30 yards out. He was miles off his line, and I think one of the boys put a ball over the top, and I've just gone for it. Instinct, just hit it. One of those games where everything sort of comes off for you, and at the perfect time, and there's scouts watching you as well. So
I
remember after the game, my dad coming up to me and speaking to me in the car, and it was a difficult conversation for him to have with me because my brother was playing as well at the time, and they were obviously
the same game.
The same game, yeah. And they were interested in me, and they didn't say anything about him at the time. So I think he was pretty cautious of how he was sort of wording. I think he left it for an evening or so, and then told me. But coming from Brighton and hearing that Palace were interested, I was like, I'm not sure what to do. But then my dad was the same thing. He said, "Go and try it. If you don't enjoy it, don't pursue it." And
yeah, exactly. Might as well try, I suppose, isn't you? And
exactly,
glad you did.
No, I didn't really think too far ahead of it either. I wasn't thinking, "Oh, right, this might be my last chance to get into academy. This might not happen again." I just looked at it like never thought I would be a footballer full time anyway. At that age, I was just enjoying it and playing it to the best of my ability. Then when opportunity came, never thought too much of it again. Just was like, right, let's just go with the flow. I think best way to be really. Don't try and go 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of it or overthink it and
put too much pressure on yourself.
Pressure. Like you see a lot now with parents trying to craft their kid into being a footballer and how invested they are. My dad never forced me or crafted this path for me. It was always just do if you enjoy it, do it. If you don't,
then more organic, wouldn't it? Just more natural.
Yeah, and that's the best way to be because then you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it because you want to do it. You're not doing it and thinking, "Oh, right, I've got to impress my dad. My dad's relying on me here. Like all my family are thinking about me." And that's been the best part. Really, is no matter if I do well, if I don't do well, my mum and dad are going to be indifferent. They're going to be the same supporting parents they have been, which is nice. They're never going to. My dad's never going to ring me up after a game if I haven't played well and just say, "Oh, you could have done better there. You could have done this." Sometimes I probably wish I wanted it, but he's never been like that. He's always just listened to me and just said, "Look, you had a good game. You had a great game. Well done." Never give me too much praise and never shoot me down when things aren't going well. So yeah, it's been nice. It's been good.
A lot of the parents see the bright lights now, and they just, from their kids from young, they want to just like push them in, and it's for the wrong reasons, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you're not going to have that, if you're not going to find the love for it yourself, and you're relying on an external pressure to keep you there, it will only take so long until you break. I think. I don't think there was many players we played with during our time who had that as well. Really, I don't know whether it was just our generation. I think a lot of the boys who do succeed and get to that point is because it's their own self-drive. It's not anyone else pushing you, because you need to find that yourself, don't you? Really, you have to enjoy it, find that inner motivation just to do it every day, because you can't rely on someone else to nab you, because once they're not there anymore, or you don't enjoy it as much, then it becomes a bit of a draining task, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's you at the end of the day that has to do all the stuff, all the work.
You got to do all the work. You got to put in the hours in the gym. Like that's all part and parcel of it. And if you find that yourself, it's gonna become difficult.
Yeah, definitely. So joined Palace at 14. I didn't actually know you for the first 2 years you were at Palace.
Crazy, yeah, I know.
You being injured, but
I saw you a handful of times when we had the photos done. I remember that we didn't have much conversation, did we? And then come to on things and just got on like a house on fire, really.
Yeah, basically until I started playing again. That's when I actually see you.
Yeah.
But, so how would you say your overall academy experience was with Palace?
Oh, I can't speak more highly of it, really. I think every single coach I had, I think I've done this the other day, from under 14s to when I left. If I had to, I could not pick one out.
Yeah, there's good coaches, isn't there?
Every single person, the coaches were top class. And then, I can mention them. Just Jack Meashaw, who brought me in, unbelievable coach in terms of technical ability and being able to translate it to younger players as well, so they understand that now, because there's some coaches I've worked with, I'm going to name names, but who don't translate it as well, but get frustrated when you're not doing it. I think at the time, Jack was perfect about set up a session. He'd always be the first one there, always set up the session, always make sure it was enjoyable as well. Number one, never had a tedious session with Jack. It'd always be something enjoyable.
Yeah, high energy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and always look after you as a person, always ask how you're doing, and still keep in contact with him now a little bit. And yeah, that was one. And then going through Dave Reddington, another just tactical coach. Never had someone who's been so focused tactically and made me understand my game from a tactical point of view than him, in terms of how to play with players, what spaces to create, everything really. And then Richard Shaw, we both had, who I think man management was probably the best I've had. Yeah, he makes you feel like you're his son, essentially. Everyone, he'd care for you. He always said he'd invest more in us than he would in his own family sometimes.
Yeah. And he's at the training ground longer, isn't he? I suppose it's a full-time, more than a full-time job being a coach at that level.
Yeah, and he made me. I think he was the one who made me generally confident in my abilities to then go and kick on and be a professional footballer. He was the one who was like, right, this is what you've got. You can kick on, and he was the one who sort of planted that seed. He was like, right, you can do this. You've got the attitude. You've got the right things at your disposal. I think he did that with everyone. If you're willing to put in a work and you graft, he was all about attitude and hard work, wasn't he? That was his first point of focus. And if you had a good
blend with Reddington, wasn't he? Dave Reddington.
Oh yeah, and if you had that, he would give you so much time a day. He'd say, look, this is it. And yeah, Paddy McCarthy, under 18s, another one, give me extra responsibility, made me captain of that team as well, which was massive for me in terms of growing as a person, giving me more responsibility to look after not just myself, but other people. And that was another thing, just a confidence boost almost, just to go, right, you're captain of the team. I've never been, well, apart from growing up, like being young, never been captain of a side. So that's where you then find out other areas. You have to not just look after yourself, but look after other people as well. And all these coaches have all had careers as well, most of them. And the ones that didn't have the careers, I know they say you should have a career to be able to be a coach, but all gave different qualities, and not just footballing, but sort of human qualities as well. That'd be a good lesson, because they're teaching you the football stuff, they're doing the training drills and the sessions, but then it's after the sessions and they're telling you how to act. It sort of translates into life as well. Give you, that's what I used to love about Shawsey and Jack Meashaw, would be after the session when they give like their debrief and they talk about how you should be on a daily basis and how you should act, you should be as a person. It was never too much where you're like, oh, this is draining, this is too much football talk. It'd always be, just how to be better, how to better yourself. So really grateful for that. Really.
So I remember as well, because you were sort of under 18s, you were playing left wing back, wasn't you, under Paddy?
Yeah.
And then you sort of went over to the 23s and started playing striker. And I think that's where Shawsey and Dave really like got into you about different ways how you can improve yourself as a striker. And you started kicking on, and then you signed your pro, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it was a funny first year when you're a scholar. You signed the 2-year scholar. During my first year, I didn't play much at all. I think I played a handful of games, just various positions, not getting in at all. The Youth Cup game, not being in the team for the Youth Cup game, and all of a sudden, like, warning signs start going off. I'm like, right, if I have another year like this, it's not going anywhere. So just come in every day. Didn't really think too much of it. I was like, right, let's just give it everything. I remember someone telling me before we had our scholarship meetings, he just said, do you want to look back at the end of these 2 years of the scholarship and just made sure you gave it your all? And that's probably what happened, really. I just come in the second year, I was like, right, just throw everything at it. If it doesn't work, doesn't work. You can sort of look at yourself in the mirror and say, at least I tried. And just kept coming in, and the only space really there was left wing back. I remember playing so you have the main games, the league games on the Saturdays, and then you'd have like the boys that didn't play on the weekdays.
Yeah.
How you just come in, and I think I've done pretty well in one of the midweek games, and probably just took a liking to me, because I knew new manager coming in, right, this is a chance to sort of get your way in the side at some point, just squeeze your way in, and that was the only position really. I didn't mind it, but it's like, right, that's the opportunity that's presenting. Let's go for it. So left wing back, I enjoyed. I think I have a pretty good sort of physical makeup to play that role. Never played it before, but it's just a lot of running and a lot of power work, really. So,
engine.
That's all it was, is just running up and down and utilising that, and really enjoyed it.
You did fit that role well, to be fair, in that under 18s. You're a joke.
And it was down to Paddy as well, just the tactics he'd give you. It'd be full on how to play it, so it's not like you ever felt out of your comfort zone at all. So it gives you a broader understanding of the game as well, if you can play various positions. I know it's probably not the best way to go in terms of, if I could go back, maybe just nail one position, but then it gives you, at the same time, deeper understanding of the game from various different outlooks as well. So
and managers it's always good to know that a player can move about and understand the different positions to play and actually perform well in them.
I think you're similar as well. If you have a general footballing brain, and how can I word this right? It's just understanding the fundamentals of a game. I think if you do understand that, it's just pitch geography. You're still on a pitch playing football. It's just you're in a position, and there is different skill sets required. But if you have a base skill set of football, I guess you can't look out of place in a position. But then again, you can go the other way, where I think some players have just worked on their skill set for one position and have mastered that craft and are the best in their league, their team for that. So I think that you need a mixture of both, essentially. But some have just this is where I play, this is what I do, and that constant repetition makes them unreplaceable really in teams.
Yeah, and then obviously, so you're under 18s left wing back, and then I don't know. It seemed like it happened in like one weekend that you just sort of went up to the 23s, played striker for some reason, and then I think you like scored a hat trick or something. Scored a hat trick, 2 goals. I don't know. You scored a lot.
What did it do? It happened quick. It was at that transition where I think I remember it quite rightly. I think the boys who are going to go and get their pro deals from the under 18s are already playing in the 23s. And I remember still being captain of the 18s and thinking, right, am I going to get called up here?
Yeah.
I knew the left back space. I knew, obviously, working with Shawsey and Redders, that they didn't see me as a left back. So I was like, right, if I get called up, where am I going to play for one?
Yeah, how's it going to work?
Yeah, because I'd have probably about 18 months playing left wing back and working on left wing back. I think there was one game where I did play with them, play for them at left wing back. But yeah, I remember must have been the weekend, and they were like, "Oh, you're going back up front, not playing there for sort of 2 years." I was like, "Oh, not sure how this is going to go," but yeah, I think I managed to just get on the end of QPR, get on the end of like 3 crosses, one from Aaron, one from Jason, and another one. I think it was 2 headers and a tap-in, and that was it really. I was like, I didn't play too great in a game, but scored 3, and then that was
3 goals. Didn't look back.
Exactly, yeah. It was, but then from then it was always. That's what I was really grateful for. I know people say, "Oh, you scored a load of goals," but I was literally, essentially, not comparing myself to him in any way, shape, or form. Just like a Haaland, where you're just the finisher of the move.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Like the play in front of me, I would not get involved in whatsoever. The boys, you had Jason, Levi, Naya, Gio, all these technical players.
Yeah. Aaron Wan-Bissaka obviously was in that team as well.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka, yeah. You'd have all these players that would just do the groundwork from midfield to forward. I wouldn't really get involved in it. Then come to the 6-yard box and penalty box. That's where you've got to perform. And a lot of times they were just tap-ins and headers. So yeah, I mean, it looked great for me personally, but without the play in front of me and even another one, Kean Flanagan's of the world, they would create everything, and I'd just be on the end just to finish it. So
take them home, yeah. Right place, right time, though.
No,
that's where you need to be.
Yeah, I knew my skill set. I was like, right, this is what I'm going to provide for the team, and that's what I'm going to try and do. And yeah, it did work out pretty. Yeah.
At that age, was there anyone you used to base your game off? I don't really imagine you would, but
not. I would never try and base my game off anyone. I think what I learned got me most success and most consistency was just the work rate and the attitude. I think that's how I got to where I got to. I think during the academy, because
definitely
you technically, you're a completely different player to me. Your technical ability compared to mine is a massive difference. But
massive is a strong word there.
But I knew in myself, right, I don't have that. I don't have the technical ability. I can't do 3 round wells, flick it on my head and do all this. So I was like, right, I need to make the most of what I've got. And it was just being direct and having an attitude and a work rate, and didn't overthink it too much more than that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you've got the training program of being in an academy, and you can work on the technical aspect every single day. Just obviously did improve to an extent. And I think what carried me through the first couple of years was just, the attitude and physicality side. Then I was like, right, I need to work on the technical side and get better at that. So,
and that was evident, to be fair, from like what everyone could see.
Yeah.
And with first team football, it's just about being efficient with what you do. You don't need to be doing all these, like, you just need to do your job. That's what you need to do, really, to play first team football. It's about winning.
Yeah, but I think the massive separator, and when I always used to see you play, I was like, right, you simplified the game so much, and you'd be the first one to admit you're not the quickest on the pitch.
No, I'm not.
You made yourself look quick by just being technical and being above the game and ahead of the game in your head. Like you never ever look slow on a football pitch. Ever.
No, it's true, and I'm not as quick, am I?
No. I mean, you're not rapid, but you'd never look out of place, or you'd never like get done and think, oh, blimey, like, and that's all due to what you do in your head, I guess, and having the technical ability and just to know your game.
It is, yeah. I remember actually, it would be after almost every session when we were like first year pros. Every session it'd be you and Redders or you and Shawsey just working on your hold up play all the time, hold up play, and then that working on that so much makes you look more technically good in a game, doesn't it? Because you're so used to it. It's just like second nature.
Yeah,
comes in, bounce off.
Yeah, and it was tough as well because I got nailed loads by Redders and Shawsey, just working every day on me every day. And I remember coming in some mornings thinking, oh, I could do without this, but the player it makes you is more technical. You have to work on your weaknesses. Everyone has got weaknesses. I think to a degree, you have to get them up to a point where you're capable and you play well. And I think it did translate and has helped me since. Really, I remember looking back thinking, this is tough. I'm getting balls pelted at me. I think it was like 50 balls. Shawsey was like 50 balls every morning. You got to do with me 50 balls. 50 balls at me left, right, and centre. I have a defender behind me. I have Woodsy behind me, just throwing me, pushing me left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
it makes you better, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
To be fair, your transition was pretty similar to mine. You come up roughly the same period, didn't you?
Yeah, I've sort of just got back from I was injured again, and and sort of come back for a couple months with the 18s.
From the 18s to 23s. Yeah. So how did you find that? I mean, for me, it was probably hard just because of the technical aspect, but you already had that. So it was not like you're going into somewhere where you think, oh, these players are so much better technically.
Yeah. No, for me, it was more just, it was honestly just, my focus at that point, because I was coming back from my injury. And after the first month or two being back, they started playing up again, my knees. So it's almost just like my focus every day was just how can I just minimise the pain with my knees. And then I knew sort of on the pitch, during the games, I could take care of myself. I wouldn't really obviously this probably shouldn't be, but my focus weren't as much on improving little details of my game because I was more focused on that few month period of just trying to get through the weeks, and get through the games. Because I knew if I could play, most of the time I'd play well, and then playing well in the games is how you do better and move up.
Yeah,
so that's how it was at that time.
You can look at that both ways. It can be a blessing in disguise sometimes, but I understand the pain you were going through is probably not a blessing in disguise, but that having the pain at the forefront of your mind probably stops you thinking about other areas, like panicking about how am I going to do today? Where do they see me? Like all these other things, probably you don't have space for.
Yeah, definitely.
Where you're like, right, I just need to get through a game, and that's probably where I fell short a little bit. It's like, right, I never had any sort of aches and issues at the forefront of my mind, so I was always thinking, what do I have to do today? How do I impress this, that, and the other? And it can clutter your mind a little bit. So
just thinking too much, I suppose so. Yeah, you can take good and bad from absolutely anything, can't you? Any situation. So
100%. Yeah, it gets to a point where, if the pain is not tolerable at all, then obviously it becomes an issue. But
listen, I've struggled with my knees most of my life, so it's just an unfortunate situation.
No, I was just going to say, because the mental strength to have the same issue, not being able to clear it, must have just weighed on you so much, especially when it's stopping you doing the one thing you always wanted to do as well.
Yeah, mate, it's hard. It's hard, but it does. It's almost like the first few months of any time I was out was always the hardest, but then because I was out for long periods, it's almost like that became my job instead of playing football. It's almost like my job was just to do rehab. So it gets easier in terms of dealing with going in every day, but it's still not easy. It's still the same. You still go and see your mates going out playing football while you're stuck in the gym doing rehab. But
the earlier you can probably experience these problems, the more equipped you are to deal with other issues, aren't you, as well? Because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Even when you were coming back and you were running, remember we went on holiday and we done a run, and you absolutely smashed the life out of the run. I don't know if you had pain going through you then, but I don't know if you can keep up with him. Like, I'm knackered here, but because of what you've probably been through, you probably, let's say, developed a period of mental resilience where anything we do, I remember in the gym as well, we do like that core work, and you'd always like have to win. Not have to win, but it's almost like you went into.
To be fair, I would have to win, yeah.
Yeah, you almost went into like a different zone. I was thinking, how's he got into that zone? But then you don't understand the journey. Everyone's so unique, and what you've been through. That's what I was going to say. Is definitely benefiting you now massively, 100%.
Yeah, and I just love. Obviously, I'm just so competitive. You obviously know that. And when I'm not playing, I can't. I've got to get that out. So in the gym or, like you said, on a run, I need to win.
But I mean, you need to have that element of competition. You need to find that different avenue, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So at Palace, you left at what, 21? I think.
Left. It might have, just turned 20. I think it was 20.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
but obviously, I think you got on the bench a few times for the first team for Palace. Obviously, you probably played a lot of friendlies with them for them. Did you? What's the reasons you thought like you had to leave, or why it didn't work out at Palace?
Again, didn't overthink it too much. Didn't really plan it out to be that way. It was just an opportunity arose for me to able to get out, and it was Bristol Rovers that come in, and I think they've been watching me the last couple of seasons. Ideally, I think we wanted it to be a loan deal, but I think they come back and said, "Oh, we don't want to do any more loans. We'd rather make it permanent." So it was just an opportunity. It was not the first opportunity that had come about. I had various. I think I spoke to the gaffer, Roy Hodgson, when I was training. He wanted me to go to Sweden on loan with Luke Dreyer. I think that was after the season. That was because their season. I think their season is different to England, so they play over the summer. That was the first opportunity to properly go and play somewhere, so I sort of leaped at it, but just because of club politics, it didn't work out. So, yeah, I didn't think too much into it, other than I know the under-23s, the level of the under-23s when I left as a whole wasn't great. It's probably not where it is now, where it's like the gap between the 23s and the first team is probably slimming because that's getting better. But when I was there, I remember the gap was pretty huge. I didn't see much of a transition, barring a couple individuals. It was like a huge space, and I knew that because I'd been on the bench a few times and trained with them, and always had that. But in my head, I was like, right, that period went, and I didn't manage to get an appearance or didn't play. So it was a case of just taking any senior football I could just to get out of playing under 23s. So
which you got to do really, and it's all about you've got to play first team football. That's what it's about. So
and
you make a living.
Yeah, I was very conscious of seeing other boys who were even older than me, 22, 23, and still in the academy environment and not having played. And I remember just thinking, because the football career is so short anyway, the more time I waste, if I was like, oh, well, I'll do it in the summer, it's just time that is not going to benefit you.
Yeah, time you're not going to get back.
I was thinking, right, if I can go and play now and just build up my CV, it's just building a footballing CV. And whenever you're in the academy and you're not really in the first team, you're not creating a CV for yourself. You're just developing the skills, developing your skill set, which is great, which is needed to a certain degree. But then it's like, right, you've got the skill set, you've learned it, you've crafted it, go and put it into action.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And then you went Bristol Rovers. What was so you're at Harrogate now, yeah?
Harrogate now, yeah.
So what was your path from Bristol Rovers to to Harrogate? I know you've been to a couple of different teams, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been started off a bit rocky. Went to Bristol Rovers in the February 2020, so just before COVID kicked in.
Yeah.
A few games, and then obviously everything was locked down for. I think we were locked down for 4 or 5 months, but we didn't reboot.
About 5 months, I think.
Yeah, didn't really get anything going there with consistency. But coming the next season, and it started pretty well, I think.
I remember you started on fire, scoring a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think I had an injury. I think I must have had an illness just before the start of the season, so I missed the first game. But after I got over that and I started playing and implementing, and I played up front, I think it was around October time, I got a few goals, 3 or 4 goals in the space of sort of similar games. First one coming against Lincoln at their place. It was weird because there's no fans. So even though I'd gone to a team and gone to Bristol Rovers, like a massive club, at the time I don't think I really understood the magnitude of the club because there was still no fans. I had a bit when I just signed. I was like, wow, this is like, I don't know how many, 8, 9, 10,000 people when just before COVID. But when you're playing in empty stadiums, you forget about the following and the backing.
Definitely,
so Twitter, and you'd get people messaging you and tweeting you, which is lovely. And sometimes messaging and tweeting not nice stuff. But it was. Yeah, I didn't really understand it, to be honest, until I went back there and played against them. But yeah, it was tough start to senior football. We got relegated from League One at the end of that season after having, I think, 3 managers that season. So yeah, it was a very, almost looking back now, it seems like it was like 2 or 3 seasons in one season, just of the change of managers, and just felt like it did go on forever, really, and we never really got out of it. And yeah, real shame, just collectively and for the club as well, to be in that scenario where you get relegated. It's not nice, and it still sticks with you. It doesn't leave you. And all for there's no pointing a finger at any one person or any one thing. It was just probably collective errors. But yeah, that
what would you say? Obviously, from playing 23s and then Bristol Rovers was your first step up to first team football. What would you say the main differences really?
I think you're just going into an environment as well where you're competing for places where boys have had huge CVs, like massive CVs. You're playing with players who have maybe had 300, 400 plus games to their belt. So using that to your advantage is massive. I think having those leaders and having those experienced players that just give you little pointers and little tips. I can say from last year, my experience with a guy called Podrick Amon at Woking, old Podge. He was the same. Just the little things on the pitch, they'd give you words of advice and stuff to do.
Very experienced, isn't it?
Yeah, and the way it goes back to the way they can then translate it to you so you understand it as well. And yeah, those parts are massive, and always being able to just be switched on and listen to what these people got to say. But yeah, I think that was the big one, is you understand that these boys are conditioned to compete for 3 points. To win. And that does happen over time, but when I come in, we lost a game or two, probably from being in that academy environment, you're like, I'll be all right, we'll pick it up, we'll analyse it. But for other players, it's like, no, this is jobs on the line type of stuff, which is
they can lose. People lose their jobs just over one game, don't they? A couple of games losing, that's it, they're out.
That's exactly what it was. Playing pretty consistently under first manager Ben Garner, and then just had a few results where it didn't go our way. But I never for one reason thought they'd get rid of him. And then it's come up on my phone that he's been sacked, and I was all of a sudden like, what's going on here?
It's almost like, right, this is what first team football's about.
It's sort of right, yeah, and it literally is that cutthroat at times. If you're not performing to where you say you're going to perform, it can quickly change very quickly. So yeah, that was one thing.
On the in terms of on the pitch though, would you say it's like more intense, more technical? League One it was at the time to 23.
I think every aspect goes up. You've
Yeah.
got technical, physical, the mental side of things. You're playing because even League One, even now, you've got huge teams in that league.
Mate, some big players in that league as well. There's some top
Yeah.
players there.
I remember one of my first. It may have been my first sort of debut when I come on. We played Sunderland at the Mem. I just remember the crowd. I remember the atmosphere. It was just the first time I've probably been in an intense environment where you think, right, this is football.
Yeah.
You get the raw, you get the proper atmosphere of maybe 8, 9, 10,000 in that stadium, and you come on.
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah, it gives you that adrenaline straight away, really, and that was something where I was like, right, yeah, this is the next milestone in my career. Really, is trying to have this consistently.
Yeah, nice. And then so your dad, Bristol Rovers, Stevenage. Was it Stevenage?
Stevenage, yep. Right.
So I know you struggled a lot with like little niggly injuries throughout, like Bristol, Stevenage, Woking. Was that reasons why you moved on? Do you think?
Definitely. If I look back now on how I sort of looked after myself, or how I probably didn't look after myself at Bristol Rovers, was probably a defining factor of why I did get moved on.
Yeah.
Just looking at it critically, I think I was nowhere near looking after my body at the degree I'm looking after it now. Because when you go from the academy, use the same example, you get your gym, your program, all your food sorted out for you. You don't really have to worry about anything. You just go in, you do it, you go home. You don't realize at the time how much that probably is benefiting you from a injury sort of resilience point of view.
You almost have to do it, don't you? And you don't realize what's helping you and how much it's helping you.
Yeah, at the time you think, I've just got to do this, and then I do it to my best of my ability, and then being able to just play constantly. Then it gets to where I was at Bristol Rovers. Boys know what they need and what they don't need, so it's not a compulsory gym session. It's if you want to do it. And I think if I look back now, maybe at times I'd be thinking, right, so I've earned this time to not have to do a gym session. I've got out of the academy. I'm like, I'm going to just go home and put my feet up because I feel like I've earned it, which was a stupid mistake, really, because that's when all the issues started to come on the top of that. So, yeah, it took me a while to kind of understand that and grasp that. But now I feel I have. It depends what type of player you are as well, I think.
Definitely.
For the makeup I've got, I need to be in the gym and lifting heavy weights and having that muscular feature. Otherwise, like I've experienced, I've had sort of niggles and pubis pains and all sorts of stuff, and it probably stems from losing that element of strength.
Yeah, because that's your game. Your power, speed is it's a big part of your game. So I suppose you need to accommodate to that in the gym, don't you, or whatever you do outside of football.
Yeah, and it's not for everyone, and maybe that's where I was probably too impressionable, and other people would influence me to a degree where if no one else, if say the captain or the top goal scorer is not doing a gym session, I'm almost like, all right, if he's not doing it, then maybe I don't have to do it as well. Maybe,
especially when you're so it's almost your first sort of step up into first team football. You're thinking, right, they're not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, right, that's maybe from my point of view, I was like, oh, maybe I don't have to do it if I'm playing all the time. But yeah, it's similar. It's lessons learned. It's you learn these lessons, and I'm better off for it now. And similar at Stevenage was the same thing, just not having that consistent program or looking after myself correctly physically, and that's where issues arose. And I feel like I'm on the other side of that now. And after having a full season last year at Woking, that's definitely put me in good stead to just be resilient and be available consistently. Because the worst thing is, not being able to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was a good season you had at Woking last year, wasn't it? It's like it shows that every time you've had a run of games, you've performed well. There's not been really a spell in your first team career where you've not performed well when you've been fit and ready to play for a certain amount of weeks.
Yeah, and it was invaluable for me because I went there thinking, right, I've dropped out of the league. I need to go and do well here if I want to then go and impress. But at the time when I signed, there was no real. How can I put this? I wasn't ecstatic to sign there because I saw where my career trajectory was sort of just going down and down. So I sort of signed at Woking thinking, right, this sounds bad, isn't where I want to be, but this is where I am now. So I've got to just put everything into it to get to where I want
it's time to step up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you think as well. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm not sure how this is going to go. But after I left, I realised the impact that Woking's had has been, invaluable in terms of that's probably my first time playing senior level football consistently, and what it's given me is massive. And just massively grateful for the opportunity and being able to play consistently and manage to give me that chance to play. But then on the pitch, you've got to do your business when you get given the chance. So
yeah, it shows consistency. Like, is having a run of games is everything. If you can't stay fit, it's gonna be near impossible to have a long lasting career and hit any kind of form.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah, that is the injuries are the things which stop you from hitting consistent form. You can't have form one game and then miss three. You've got to be able to be available consistently to build on performances to then get to where you want to get to. So that's the injury level. And as well, once you have one injury and you're out for a while, it seems like it's just a mountain to climb to get back.
Knock-on effect.
Yeah, just to get back to where you were. So sometimes you can't help them and they come out of the blue. But I think now I've got to a point where I know what my body needs and I know what I have to do to give myself the best chance. So
well, that's good to hear that it seems like you're on the other side of that, of the little niggles, and you got to the playoffs, didn't you? So you done well. Okay.
Yeah, it was a great year, and I look back with like so many fond memories because at the start of the season, as I mentioned, there was no massive expectation to really get there. We wanted to get closer up the table, but as soon as you get training and you're with the players and you think, right, I think there is a point where you go, maybe we can do something here, but no one really said it. You just got a good group of lads together who had experience higher up and had some great leaders and characters. I think that's where the manager got it bang on. Is there was 5, 6, 7, 8 league leaders who played a handful of games. So you're then again back in that same scenario. And the idea that I mentioned is you're feeding off the back of people so much more experience than you, and it helps you massively when you have that. Sometimes you can't always have that, and you've got to. I think that was the one thing that maybe was a massive benefit, was learning how you can be a leader in that. I know you're still young, and that's what the manager emphasised a lot, was you still be a senior player without being an older player. If you're playing consistently, he said you're a senior player. So, the more you play and the more evidence you have for doing well and you feel like you are a part of it, makes you want to influence in different ways. So
and the teams you've had sort of, who was it, Wrexham and
Notts County,
you've got two of the sort of like biggest points histories near enough in the history of that league. So you take just one of them away and you're pretty much up. So it just shows how well you've done that year.
Yeah, and it was a crazy year. Really.
Yeah, it was, mate. That was Wrexham. They were both a joke. Notts County and Wrexham, weren't they? They were a joke.
Yeah, we just saw them just winning, and they just did not stop winning, and they just won and won and won. And I think we played them. We played Wrexham, and probably should have got something out of the first game and played them at their place. I think we're the only team at that point to take points off them at home as well, which was another thing. Like, great for us. Yeah, the belief was like we can beat anyone because what we do, we're the best at, because we have the stats to back it up. We're the best. I don't know, can't remember the stat, but in terms of regains high up the pitch, out of maybe top 4 leagues, we're definitely up there. I remember someone telling us a stat.
Yeah,
that was a good thing about our team, is we knew what we were good at and we done it, and that's all we done. We didn't change for anyone, and that was massive for us, really.
Yeah, and it was evident to see. So you're at Harrogate now. I know you've been there for just since the start of pre-season, really. How's it been though? How are you settling in with Harrogate?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, it's been a good few weeks, mate. That's the thing now. I think from where I've been and having club after club after club, and you're always moving, it gets easier to gel with a team. And because I'm pretty introverted character by nature, it's always difficult being a new person. But I think the more you expose yourself to being that new person, the easier it gets. So yeah, the lads are great and similar. I think they're a lot of the players, even the senior players, have been on this journey with them through non-league to get to the Football League. So it's that humbleness, that dedication, that drive to still do well because it's a club that they care about. So, yeah, just want to be involved in that, really, and essentially be a part of that and invest in the group first, and then let the performances come after. Really, you have to be fully invested. So yeah, it's been good, mate. Yeah, really good.
Yeah. So you got your league starts next week, is it?
League starts next week. Yeah, Doncaster is our first one. So that'll be it.
What's the have they? I don't know if have they sat down with you. What's the plans? Not you individually, but as a team. What's the goals for you for the season?
Nothing really spoken out or been directly spoken to us, really. But I think the last few years is gaining that stability in the Football League gives them a platform to do well. I think last year was a bit of a story of 2 seasons, as I heard from them. They ended really well, didn't start too great, and they brought in some good players. And yeah, it's a good group here. Very similar makeup to maybe Woking, really, where you think no one's got any real expectation for you to go and kick on, but it's down to how you start and how you perform every week. So no, it'd be interesting. It'd be a good season, mate. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to watching you. Yeah, see how you do.
Yeah, it'd be good, mate.
Right, so we'll talk a bit more about Premier League now. Premier League talk.
Sweet.
What team do you support? Because you're from Brighton, but I remember you support Chelsea, don't you?
I'm Chelsea. If I had to pick, I'm Chelsea, but I'm not like a Ben White where I hate football, but I'm not that invested in it. If someone said, "Oh, who do you support?" I'd say Chelsea, but
yeah, you're not diehard, are you?
Especially how they've done last year, I can't pretend I don't support them. But no, I'm not diehard, but I will watch games, so I do know what's going on. I'm not like a complete under a rock the whole time.
Yeah. I think they'll do well Chelsea this year. I think they'll do well, better than what people are saying.
They're in my predictions, mate. I put them in the top 4. They've got
top 4, yeah. Go on, let's hear your top 4.
So I've gone City,
yeah, standard.
You can't see anything else, really. And then I've gone United at second. Reason being,
they've just signed. They literally, I think, just today they signed that Højlund. Is that his name?
Oh yeah, seen that. He looks a player. Yeah,
70 mil, 60 mil, something like that. So
I just think even you get Rashford firing again and how he was, and you get players up to speed of his caliber. It's same as Chelsea. I think you've got enough there. You've got enough talent and enough combination of everything to do well. It's just if the manager picks the right system, he's got to find his players. But yeah, so I've gone City, United, Arsenal, and Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah. So that's, mate, there's big teams missing out. This, like, I say it every year, but It seems like in your one, then what? Liverpool, Newcastle were up there, Brighton.
Yeah,
Big teams missing out. It's going to be tough.
I've missed Liverpool out, but yeah, I don't know. Nothing. I don't know, to be fair, mate. It's
because
so
Poch, really, I suppose. It's hard to see him doing terrible.
Yeah, and I think he's a perfect person for that role at the minute. I think the dressing room at Chelsea is so divided. There's too many players. And what you learn from him at Tottenham is man management. He's brilliant. So if he can he obviously has to get rid of players. There's too many players there. But I think what the owner's done is he hasn't done anything to affect the club. He hasn't done it deliberately to compromise the club, but he's trying his best. I think he's just used the American way where he's just spent a load of money
on big names instead of a star. And
and you've seen it at United the last few years. You buy these big players, but it doesn't come off, doesn't translate on the pitch. So you need a manager like a Poch to be able to get the most out of these players. Because players, you're not going to go into a dressing room at a top team and just instantly perform. I listened to Frank Lampard's on Diary of a CEO, and he said,
"Yeah, I listened to it as well.
It was good, wasn't it?" And you think their core team, they had Terry, Ashley Cole, Lampard, Drogba, that spine, Petr Cech in goal.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
And he said they were able to chop and change managers all the time because the players were there, the core players were there. So even if they did have a new manager, even though they want them to play a certain way, you've got the values and disciplines of these people who've been there for ages. That's the constant. So, I think now it's changed massively because players just come and go all the time. But, if he can translate, I think Mudryk looks like a real player as well if he can get going. I mean, he's one of the quickest players I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's rapid, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's rapid.
He's getting that balance, and you see it with Ten Hag as well, and United, like your Casemiros and Varane. You're recruiting a personality and a character there over. Well, they're unbelievable players, but I think that's at the forefront. He wants winners and he wants leaders to be at the forefront. So that's why I think they'll do well. You got top four?
Yeah. So my top four was City. It was. I'm going to go. I did have Arsenal second, but I'm going United now because if United striker, which they have, I'll go United second. I'm going to go Arsenal, and I'm going to actually chuck in Spurs. If Kane stays, just because of that Maddison signing. I think if them two get going, it's a joke. Their defence don't need to be great. Chelsea, I don't think will challenge top four. It's either Spurs or Newcastle for me. Liverpool, and I can't see it. But
I think a lot of people are overlooking Newcastle, aren't they? Just because of how well they've done last year. But I think they'll definitely be up there, and Brighton as well. I don't think they'll be top four, but they'll be in and around it, 100%.
Yeah.
With the Tottenham as well, with Maddison, you almost forget about how important Son was like a few years ago and how good he was. You can just get him to his type of form that he was when they were together and they were goals and assists every single week. You can get that part of Son out, and it's just like having a new Simon as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that fourth spot is up. Like, I'm not too confident on Spurs, but that's probably what I'd go for at the moment.
Oh yeah,
because I think Newcastle overachieved last year in terms of they're obviously on the upward trajectory, but in terms of I think they overachieved, and fifth or sixth would still be good for Newcastle. So
I think they maybe had not too much success too early, but they definitely overachieved, didn't they? In terms of where they probably see their project being in 3 to 4 years is probably where they see themselves being in 3 or 4 years, not now. So
they just skipped a few years, didn't
they? Just completely. And you're probably looking at it and thinking, it's nice, and now you've got to build on it. But it's every single team is always recruiting and trying to get better, aren't they? So make for a good season, that's for sure.
What about your relegations then this year?
bottom three, I've gone. Where have I gone? I've gone Luton at the bottom.
Yeah, it's got to be in it. As much as I want them to do well, but
I want them to do well. I really want them to do well. But yeah, just
they won't.
I think the story of where they've come from and how they've got there is unbelievable. But I don't know if they made many. I'm not sure how many signings they've made. I know they have to deal with the ground and whatnot. But I reckon it may be a season for them where they start well. They have a couple good results, but realise that the quality every single week. Then you get on a little dip, and then might not be able to improve. But personally, with obviously Alfie Doughty, if he can play in the Prem and do his stuff,
that'd be good to see.
That'd be great to see, really. Just to see him. So I've gone Luton, Nottingham Forest. Just don't see them really clicking together. And I put Bournemouth in there. I know they've done well last year, and I know they've had investment, but everyone seems to put Bournemouth in the bottom three. But yeah, I looked at the league, and I think Burnley will do well. I just can't see.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the boys I'm speaking to at Harrogate said I think they only had 2 weeks off. Like they've just been in non-stop. So company's definitely working.
Not messing about.
No, he's not messing about. He's not going in the Premier League just to be a participant. He's looking to do well. So I think they'll stay up pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I've gone. Who did I go? I went Luton. I've gone Sheffield United. They've come up, haven't they?
Oh, Sheffield. Yeah, I didn't think.
Yeah, I reckon they'll be them and Luton will go down definitely, in my opinion. And then probably go Bournemouth, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was Everton. But I'll go Bournemouth.
Yeah. I just think Everton is such a big club. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I just feel like maybe they do have the resources just to get themselves out of trouble. And Sean Dyche is he still manager? Sean Dyche? Yeah. He knows how to keep a team. I don't know if he's the right man for the next
project
I want to make. Yeah, but for the meantime, I think they'll do fine.
Yeah. James, that's it, mate. So thanks for coming on.
Lovely, mate. Thank you very much. No, I really enjoyed
it.
Cheers for that, pal.
All good. Right. See you later.
See you in a bit, mate. Cheers for that.
Yes, guys. Thanks for watching this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, could you please follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel? It massively helps us out.